Yar, mateys. All right, batten down the hatches. Stream the masses. Blah, 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 blah. Whatever pirates say. Welcome to another episode of The Jeff Show. Yar. All right, I really went out of my way to. By the way, this mic is really annoying. I don't think it's very good, but I'm currently up here right now. It's the better sound than if I didn't have the mic, so whatever. We're back again for part two, covering the complete history of Return of the Living Dead. If you follow me on the Lodi show, then you know we've done this in the past. I decided to do it with this book. I had so much fun doing it yesterday. I decided I'm going to do the whole book. It feels good. When things feel good, do them. As long as you're not hurting anybody else. If you're hurting other people, you shouldn't do them. But if it feels good and you're not hurting anybody else, go and do it, especially if it's a positive, productive thing, like talking about a movie like Return of the Living Dead, which is what I'm doing. So I don't remember where we left off. I kind of do, actually. We got to find the page. We're just going to launch right into it. I'm going to go. I thought yesterday was going to be the last video for the week, but you know what? As it turns out, I had a little bit of time. My daughter's asleep right now. I figured, hey, let's go again. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. I got to just find my place. It was right here. Okay, ready? We're going in. We're launching in. If you like this content, hey, Rue Morg is back. Rue spent yesterday with us going over this. Rue, we're doing it again. If you like this comment, please. If you like this content, please subscribe to the channel. Please like this video. Please leave a comment. One of those things. Okay, we got to steer clear of the trash nudity. We don't want to get in trouble with Facebook. Oh, not Facebook, YouTube. I mean, okay. So here we are. Let's brighten this screen up so I can actually read stuff. Sorry about that. All right, so here's another picture. We're continuing where we left off. Look at that. So that's them, and they're all in Suicide's rust bucket there. I love that it says "Who cares" on it. Who is that? That's first assistant director David M. Robinson with the Punks Outside, the Resurrection Cemetery. Like so many of the crews, the Scotsman also worked on Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning. I did not know that. So I believe Mark also is in Part 5 of Friday the 13th as well. They share a lot of DNA. And also our buddy Spider as well. So there's Scuzz after his death. I'm sure that upset Brian Peck, as he probably wish he could survive for the sequel. This dude loves that series. He really does. I always loved his costume. It's good stuff. Really, really good stuff. The detail to everything. Kind of weird to think that this one little bite took out Scuzz. You think it would have taken more than that. And did Scuzz reanimate? Did Scuzz soak up enough of the acid rain that upon his death he regained consciousness? Possibly. I'd like to think in the cutaway scenes that we didn't see of the story that he did. And we never saw it because a giant bomb dropped on everybody and exploded them all. I will say this, Frank, played by James Karen in the book, in the novelization that we talked about 2 days ago, Frank does not put himself in the crematorium. That was James Karen's idea. In the script, he calls for a cab. He sneaks outside and he calls for a cab, and he's trying to get home to his wife, all zombified up. He's the reluctant zombie in that as well. So there's let's see what Brian Peck says here. I know there was bad blood between Russo and Romero and much legal wrangling that actually delayed the filming of Return of the Living Dead for 8 months or more while the rights issues were worked out. I know Romero was not happy about Return, says Brian Peck. Wow, I seem to have forgotten that. But that probably stemmed, it's interesting. It delayed the filming for 8 months, so it's supposed to take place in 1984. Which actually makes sense. Doesn't it say, isn't it July 4th, 1984, that we should never forget? I don't remember. But I guess that yeah, I don't know. Hey Rue, how does the mic sound, by the way? Let me know. So this is look, there's Dan O'Bannon freaking um taking a bite, taking a bite out of the street vendor. He's showing trash. There you go. Look, there's Leanna waiting to do what Dan. I mean, Dan is literally using actors like they're puppets, which is kind of insulting to the actors. But I guess that was part of his. This doesn't work. That was part of his abrasive nature. I'm getting this glare on the thing. It was part of Dan O'Bannon's abrasive nature. What can I say? Look at that. So there, wow, forgot about this. So by the way, our party time zombie dude, he died in 1932. And he's mostly, I guess, the rot, his coffin was not secured. Because there are some Civil War guys that are pretty well preserved. So I guess it really depends on where you're buried in the Resurrection Cemetery. But look at him. Pretty sparse there. I mean, it just was not. Look, that's him. That's how it works. He pops up like that. It's not a good skeleton, man. Rave in the Grave. William Munn's party time skeleton. William Stout would later go on to express his disappointment with the effect. However, the image of the skeleton rising from the grave has become one of the movie's most iconic images. That's true. I mean, that's so well said. Thanks, Rue. Rue says that we sound clear. That's good to know. There they are with the lost assignment of Easter eggs. There's Dan happily looking upon his creation. There's what remains. You got Spider, Casey, Chuck, and Clue is somewhere. Oh, Clue's right there. It's just he's talking on the phone in the shadows. Action. Dan O'Bannon directs the final scene in the Unida basement. They return to the beginning, where this all began, in order to figure out how they could. Now you see how there's more than one Easter egg. So here's my idea for the Tarman's backstory. I wrote a comic. I should say I wrote the outline for a comic called "The Tragedy of the Tarman," and it's actually the Tarman's history, his story, how he became the Tarman, how he became a zombie in the first place in 1968, when the original events that would inspire Night of the Living Dead took place. Because you have to remember, those two things are connected. So the Tarman is actually a Night of the Living Dead zombie, or the Tarman is a zombie from the incident that Night of the Living Dead is based on, because he's in the barrel. So he's 14 years old, 15 years old, whatever, something like that. Now, there are five other Easter eggs in the basement, in the Unida basement. And so here's two of them that are unopened. And I always wondered to myself, who's in these other barrels? What is their story? What is their relationship to the Tarman? And so I wrote a whole story that involved a girl named Barbara, who the Tarman was in love with. That's how Barbara gets her name in Night of the Living Dead, because remember, the guy who made Night of the Living Dead based his movie on the events that really happened, and the Darrow Chemical Company threatened to sue his ASS off. So one of these barrels belongs to Barbara. And Barbara is the love of the Tarman, not the brother of the Tarman. What? Did I just reveal? What? So maybe someday we'll get to see that full story. I kind of spoiled it when I was talking with Joe from Mr. Monster and Darrow and Blitzkid and Michael Graves and stuff. We were talking. I was sort of reading from that. Maybe I should just read it. It's not like I'm ever going to get it made. Although I really would like to turn it into a screenplay. In any case, who else are in these canisters? You might ask yourself. Interesting. Oh, we got a spicy photograph there. I love this. So this is them when they're all standing, doing the thing. Below, I ain't calling no cops. After Suicide's death at the hands of the Tarman, the punks barricade the basement door of the Unida Medical Supply Warehouse. And on the right, the James Dean of zombie films. Trash tries her charm on suicide. I love that. I love that. He is a rebel. I love this scene because it's shot in a master shot. You know what I'm saying? So what you have is You have them all standing. There's no close-ups. There's no coverage. We call that coverage when they do the master, which is the wide shot, and then as you punch in closer and closer, you get punch-ins, you get close-ups, you get blah 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 blah. How did the Tarman get from Pittsburgh to Knoxville? Milton, that's very simple. By the way, thank you for your comments in the other video. I'm so glad that you enjoyed it, Milton. And I agree with everything that you were saying. It's one of my favorite films too. How did they get there? He got there because the Army did a massive F up and crossed the order. All that stuff still applies, but the Tarman, yes, the Tarman starts his existence as a Tarman in Pittsburgh, and he's not a Tarman. He's a zombie. He only becomes a Tarman once the air hits him. His transformation into the Tarman is not complete until the beginning of the Return of the Living Dead, when Freddie and Frank release him out. Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, I made that mistake yesterday too. I was confusing Kentucky and Tennessee. Right, it is Louisville, Kentucky, and what I said still stands. But I just love this. I love the way, I love the banter, I love the back and forth. And you know what's funny? If you watch the movie, right before they cut to them running out into the rain again, back into Resurrection Cemetery, the editor, William, or the assistant editor was John Penny, who would go on to write Return of the Living Dead 3. So Return of the Living Dead 3 does have some of its does have OG people from the original Return of the Living Dead were involved with it. Brian Peck, for one, he played a ballistic technician at the beginning, but also John Penny, who was the assistant editor on Return of the Living Dead, wrote Return of the Living Dead 3. And, when they were editing Return of the Living Dead, this Return of the Living Dead, if they just cut the scene, there's more dialogue being said. I think you actually can hear it in the work print, but Casey is in the middle of saying something when they just cut it on her. And then the tall boy starts playing, take a walk. Come on, baby, let's take a walk. Ding, 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 ding. You don't have to talk. I love it. Oh, gotta be careful here. Gotta be careful. Okay. Shoulders up. Believe me, I'd love to show the full photograph of Trash in all her glory. But again, I don't want to piss off the YouTube overlords. He's wearing a Sniper shirt. Do you know that was Joey Ramone's first band as a singer? He was in a band called Sniper. I always wondered if those were connected. And look, there were no actual punks like that, dressed like that. This is like such an over exaggeration of what a punk kind of dressed like in 1983. I think this look, well, I mean, it had to exist because it's 1984. I don't know. When you look at photographs, you don't really see hardcore punks like this. I feel like people watched Return of the Living Dead, and then this style started to come back in a big bad way in the 90s. I think of like the Exploited and the Casualties style punk with mohawks and everything. But there he is with his chains. This is a way of life. You got to understand. Mark Fertarini, he had worked his part out so much. He was so gifted. He was a gifted actor. He was terrifyingly good. Agreed. All that kind of stuff that he was doing. I thought that kid is going to go somewhere. And then he died from Clue. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's really sad. Really sad. Again, much like I said yesterday, Don Calfa should have been the Jeffrey Combs of the 80s. And, Mark Vetturini, he should have been in more stuff, man. He will always be immortalized in this film, but he should have had such a career, at least in B movies, And I'm also kind of like, it is kind of a bummer. Kind of wish that Suicide had come back too, Maybe I would imagine in my expanded version of what's happening in Return of the Living Dead, in like a comic book form. Not only does Scuzz come back, but Suicide comes back because he's also been soaked in the acid rain, and maybe he realized what his existence is, and he commits suicide even as a zombie, and that's why he's still on the floor at the end. I don't know. That'd just be a fun little addition. You don't realize that when they come back and he's lying down because he took himself out as a zombie if he could figure out a way how to do that. Because they're kind of indestructible. Here is some Three Stooges tomfoolery right there between Brian Peck and Don Calfa on the set. You got our two guys. This is the Laurel and Hardy of zombiedom, right? Like, just what a there's no better dynamic duo than these two. These guys, man, I'm in such awe of them and their chemistry and their energy. On one hand, you're just kind of like, you're kind of bummed that they came back and did Return of the Living Dead 2. But on the other hand, you're kind of like, can you really blame them? Can you blame them for coming back? I guess we all would come back. When you have something that good, you want to have the same experience that you had the first time. And I think they did. They did have a good experience filming Return of the Living Dead 2. And there's Brian Peck being a goof with a corpse. That's all I'm going to say about that. Here, this is interesting. I'm going to read the blurb. A respected partnership. James Karen and Dan O'Bannon discussing a scene during filming. Karen had no issues with O'Bannon and intervened during some of the more heated moments on set. So those guys get along. Those guys got along. Dan did not get along with everybody, as we know, as we've spoken about. I'm about to sneeze, guys, so just give me a second. It's going to sneeze. I'm going to sneeze. And there they are figuring out what they're going to do next. And it was James Karen, as I said before, James Karen came up with the brilliant idea to have Frank end his existence in the crematorium. It's truly one of the most nihilistic, dreadful, doom-filled exits besides Return of the Living Dead 3. You're like, oh, how can they ever top that moment? Oh, let's just end Return of the Living Dead 3 the way we ended Return of the Living Dead 3 and just gut everybody. Rue says, Freddie and Bert, love those guys. He meant to say, I meant Frank and Freddie, right? Yeah, I always confuse the names too. I do that a lot. You got Bert and Ernie, and Freddie and Frank. Freddie and Frank and Bert and Ernie. There you go. Now, where is the concept band for these guys, right? I'd call them the Rabid Weasels, and it's the four of them cosplaying as Freddie, Frank, Bert, and Ernie, just doing songs. I'd watch that. That would be fun. That would be cool. Here's another shot. Resurrection Cemetery. There's Suicide, looking all cool. That's a Sid Vicious thing right there. He's got the Sid Vicious thing going on with his handcuffs. Sorry, I got to X out WhatsApp. It's making noises. And this is so this safety pin on the back of Scuzz's jacket, I believe that's for mailmen, actually. That's a mailman thing. I've seen those in post offices and stuff. And he just put that safety pin on the back, and there is the delicious trash. Graham Henderson, producer. The kids got on well with all the cast and were liked by all, or at least most of the crew. Yeah, man. And you can see that. That's a testament to how they all hang out together and at all the conventions and stuff. It's a shame. One of my biggest regrets is that I didn't go to conventions when I had the opportunity to meet all these guys. Well, some of them were still alive. A lot of them were still alive, but, just some of the ones that have passed, mainly Dom Calfa and James Karen. Just a shame. And here, you see this on the back of the soundtrack. You see this on the back of, this is just like you don't ever actually see this shot in the movie or this one. They're because they're wearing masks, I believe. But those are some of the ghouls. These are like promo shots or something, right? Let's see what it actually says. The punks get ready to party, right? And then right in below, the Munns effect. So these were Munns zombie masks and makeups that were based on mummies from, I'm not going to even pronounce that, Guanajuato, which I guess is in Mexico. But you don't ever see these featured in the movie. But it leads me to believe that these are not stills. This is actually footage that was shot and then not used, right? But this was used in, as I said, on the back of the soundtrack. You can see this. You can see these shots on the back of the soundtrack. So I bet you there's footage attached to the stills of this. God, the obsession over this movie. Yeah, man, rapid reasels. It would just work, but they'd have to call themselves Freddie, Frank, Bert, and Ernie, and nobody would get it. Only Return of the Living Dead fans would truly understand. All right, so this is why William Munns was fired. Ready? You want to see why William Munns was fired? We talked about how great he did the Tarman, right? Well, look at that. That was his idea for the half corpse. Besides it looking cheap and crappy, Bill didn't pay attention to my storyboards, so it was improperly executed just on a technical level for what we needed for the scene. That's William Stout, the production designer, who's, I mean, look at that. Look at the incompetence from Bill Munn. I hate to speak ill of the dead. You know, I really hate to speak ill of the dead, but this is I find this to be unacceptable, truly. Could you imagine if the movie would not be what it was if we got that? Half a day wasted facial casting. Half a day wasted facial casting was done and needed to be redone once the right actor was correctly identified. Huh. And look at that. I mean, they don't look nearly as good. I guess it works in the rain. You know, it's funny. If you look when the mob of zombies is going to attack the ambulance and policemen, you really can't. They don't look like they have zombie makeup on. They just look like people covered in mud. The extras just look like they're covered in mud. And you know what? The fact that they are fast moving zombies is all we need. It doesn't. It's still incredibly effective. You didn't really, even if they did just have these crappy masks, it still would have worked. It would have worked for me. I found it to be effective. So there's the young man himself, Tony Gardner. Again, as I said yesterday, I had the honor. I'll probably repeat this over and over. I had the honor of meeting this guy. Truly was an honor to meet this man. And there's the half corpse right there. She has pale blue eyes. Look at that. Those eyes did not rot inside her head, and her hair is stained with the blood of scuzz, and she got all her pearly white chompers still in her puss. And here's the guy. So we were talking yesterday about, yeah, man, just covered in mud. Exactly, Rue. So here's our dude right here, that's who Ernie is embalming. And in the book, it's a couple that were cut in half in an auto accident. And it's them who actually eat Scuzz's head, not the half corpse, who's also a half corpse. So it changed up. I don't know if that was if John Russo made up that couple or if it's actually in the script. I haven't read it. I haven't read that far into the 1983 script that I have, but I think I might. I think I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to definitely have to get down on that. This is Kenny Myers, and he was the dude who replaced William Munns, right? It wasn't difficult, but it was tedious. We had to rebuild the undersuit to hold up the weight of the individual drips that were sewn onto the costume by hand. We also had to account for a lot of the weight the KY jelly he was covered in. So the KY jelly made the Tarman. There's the Tarman. That's when he's still in the barrel. So that's our Tarman. That's what he looks like. That's the way he was interred back in '69, right? And then he gets pulled out. He gets woken up. In my story, the Tarman's actually dreaming. He's dreaming about a beautiful suburban existence before he is awoken. And I have this great idea for a transition to how he's woken up. And I had actually spoken with this collaborator, this writer guy, who I wanted to write the outline in comic book format. Didn't end up happening. So now it just sits in limbo. But perhaps someday I'll get to it. And there's Kenny. Kenny would go on to work on Return of the Living Dead Part 2 as well. A lot of the crew returned for Return of the Living Dead Part 2, in addition to Tom Matthews and James Karen. So there's a scene in the chapel. Here opposite. Cometh the Tarman, Kenny Myers with the Tarman prosthetics designed by William Stout, sculpted by William Munns, and amended by Myers. So he actually fixed it. And again, this is all in the story. If you buy this book, it's in the story. I put a link to the book itself. If you want to purchase this book, you can buy it on Amazon for $25. You support the writers, Gary Smart and Christian Sellers. So you can still get this book. It is available above. Ready for Freddy. Dan, Miguel, Don, and Beverly. Excuse me. Oh, that's after the attack with Clue. He's got that rubber pipe, and he hits Freddy pretty hard with it. There we go. There she is. There's our girl. And in the edited for TV version, those ropes are not red and black; they're yellow and black, which is interesting. Look at her hair and her teeth. The way the skin is sort of shriveled up, pulling back, sort of revealing the teeth. It's a great detail made by the incredibly talented young Tony Gardner. He worked on so much. He did The Blob a couple years later, the Blob remake from '88. It's brilliant. And look, there he is with his half corpse girl. There she is before she's torn in half. Before she gets chopped in half with an axe. That's what she looks like. And I don't know how she eats the brains. How does she eat the brains if she doesn't know? Milton, the Tarman Origins comic, I mean, it's written, buddy. It's written. Like, I have the whole story written out. It's not official. It's just an imaginative story. And it just needs a little bit more work. But man, I would like to do something with it. I really, really, truly would. Cherry Davis, I had no idea the half corpse was so popular. What exciting, thrilling news. Nobody knows that I've done this role, but I'm certainly going to shout it from the rooftops now. So she was the voiceover for the half corpse. Yes, you can hear me, can't you? Yes. I love the way she sort of hisses, it's almost like she has to hiss because her vocal cords are not working properly. So it's like the wind is just coming out of her throat. And here you go. He's blow drying the half corpse, getting her all ready. There they are. That's Scuzz. That's what Brian Peck's kind of a preppy guy playing the punk. There he is, Tony Gardner. Lending a hand, Tony Gardner sets up the half corpse for her scene with Don Calfa, whilst Brian Peck looks on. Peck himself had a keen interest in special effects and would often help the effects team on his days off. And yeah, man, so Brian Peck spent a lot of time on set. Really, that dude is like the Bible when it comes to Return of the Living Dead. He probably knows more about Return of the Living Dead's production time than anybody else, especially because Brian is not working, so he's just soaking everything in. He just wants to be there because he wants to be, in production, whether he's directing or acting or whatever the hell he's doing. And he's just soaking in everything that happens on set. I'm kind of amazed that he didn't release his own book about Return of the Living Dead. You think maybe he would, but he worked so close in tandem with Gary Smart, who also did a documentary. There's also a documentary called More Brains. So in addition to the book, I mean, we really are so lucky as fans to have everything that we have about Return of the Living Dead. There is a 2-hour documentary. There is this detailed book. There's the Shout Factory edition of the Blu-ray, and yet still we don't have those. We don't have the deleted scenes, all the deleted scenes, which bums me out. I mean, I just wish that they emptied the vaults with every last scrap of footage and let us see it all. So here's what the Split Dogs. Tony also did the Split Dogs, which are a very memorable, thoroughly enjoyed feature of this movie. There's the Split Dogs, which are used for veterinary schools. Every horror fan knows what Split Dogs are used for because of this film. And you would imagine if the dogs could walk that they would try to eat brains too. The days Tony Gardner brought in the Split Dog and the half corpse stands out in my mind. He did such an incredible work and everybody looks so lifelike. He was just a young kid and so unbelievably talented. Truer words could not be said about Tony Gardner. There he is again with the cast. Blah. And his daughter is talented too. His daughter's in the business. She's doing documentaries about Chucky, as I said. She's doing all her own stuff too. So this is the rabbit. Look, there's your rabid weasels all wrapped up in trash bags right there. There's a dude putting on some makeup. Who's that? Who is that? Makeup artist Don White and Larry Odin place mechanical body parts onto the stretcher for this cremation scene. The body parts were actually over 20 battery operated. Oh, I knew this. Cymbal crashing monkeys with their cymbals removed. So you have monkey, those like monkey shines, like in monkey shines, like on the poster art. That's what you got going on there. The middle thing is there's Larry, makeup artist Larry applies makeup to a zombie extra under the supervision of Kenny Myers. Odin would return to the Return of the Living Dead franchise nearly 20 years later for Return of the Living Dead Necropolis and Rave to the Grave. That is like the worst fact ever. Like I didn't need to know that. I really did not need to know that at all. Like yuck. Like why do we need to know that? Forget about Return of the Living Dead Part 4 and 5. Ugh. Yuck. Bottom. There's Larry and Frank Carasosa. They apply zombie makeup to Kenny Myers. So that's Kenny Myers in a cameo right there, I guess. Kenny Myers plays a zombie in a cameo. Don't ask me where. So there you go. There's the yellow cadaver getting a pickaxe right to the brain. I'm sure I missed the gold. I could have invented, discovered, and dreamed of it going to and from rehearsals on the freeway. That's what rehearsals are for, to invent the imagination is the actor's strongest point. Man, Clue has his own acting school, and I wish I lived in LA because I would take it. It's $300, and I would so take it just to learn from the master, And yeah, here he is. He's regretting that he came in so late because the rehearsal, is where the imagination gets to come in, and there's two enemies. And Clue has always been very professional about their skirmishes after everything that had happened, but he had gotten so mad at Dan O'Bannon that he threw a paint can at him. I always wondered why they used rabid weasels, what they used as rabid weasels, monkeys. Right. That's what you need to do a rabid weasel. You need a monkey. Man, I'll never forget the first time I saw that pickaxe go into the yellow corpse, thinking that it was obviously going to apply, the rules of Night of the Living Dead were going to apply and everything would be okay. And just to see, my stomach dropped when I was like, oh my God, that's not going to kill that corpse. We're in deep trouble here. That corpse is still wiggling around, Clue and the half corpse with Miguel. Below, Miguel and Clue pose with the half corpse between takes. For us, it's 2 minutes, but for them, it's like a 12-hour day on that set with that prosthetic, Opposite. So this is okay. So this is interesting. Look at this. Talk about this is ingenuity. So look at this. There's the camera is inside the bubble, kids. Look at that. I've been exposed to directors whose methods of dealing with pressure were to be demanding and tyrannical. That's Jules Brenner right there, probably referring to Dan O'Bannon. But instead of hiring a helicopter, cinematographer Jules Brenner boards a crane with a Perspex dome to get the effect of a helicopter shot. That's movie making ingenuity. You know what the funny thing about movie making is? It's just about being a magician. It's about problem solving and camera tricks. You're tricking the audience into believing something. It's like being a magician without actually knowing any magic tricks. In the traditional sense, your magic tricks are visual, and it's just, you're an illusionist. Essentially, filmmakers are magicians. They really are, man. And this blows my mind when you look at the genius of how to save money, achieve the effect. This is pre-CGI. What are we going to do? We're going to put the camera on a crane, put the dome around it. You put the helicopter, let the helicopter sound effect smooth everything over and make us think that we're in a helicopter. Genius. I marvel over stuff like that. I truly do. So here's some photos. Who is this? This is This is production manager Michael Bennett and co-producer Graham Henderson with producer Tom Fox at the Resurrection Cemetery exterior set. And it was an olive grove, right? It was an olive grove, and they hung Spanish moss everywhere in the olive grove to make it work, to make it look like it was a southern Gothic cemetery, you know. And it works, man. And then check this out. This is okay. So this is William Munns. Uh, he prepares to apply the Tarman's bite makeup to Mark, and as you can see, there's the section where the Tarman's going to bite into. It's gooey. Rue, I'm assuming you're talking about the helicopter scene. Yeah, man, me too, me too. And look, you can see very clearly that Suicide had this other sort of chain piercing. And there's him, man. I don't think I've ever seen him with the sniper. I guess it's not a band. I guess that's a shirt, some sort of army shirt. And he had suspenders underneath. You never even saw the suspenders, and yet they were there for effect. Oh, about to be eaten. Boom. William Munn says, one factor that diminishes the capacity of a person to do their job well is when the extra work and unnecessary interruptions are imposed on an artist, especially with a short and intense pre-production schedule. Okay, I agree. I don't disagree, William Munns. And again, we're speaking to a guy from beyond the grave, but like, let's hold on a second. William Munns, come on, buddy. Look at that. Look at that. No excuses for that. I'm sorry, William Munns. William Munns, I'm sorry. That's BS, man. Is BS. Now look at that. That's my favorite makeup. Look at his eyes. Look at his face. You really see all the peeling. I feel low budget movies have a great energy that can get lost doing larger films. That's Tom Matthews, and he just looks excellent. He started here his first day on the job, and he ends his first day on the job dead, craving his girlfriend's brains. His eyes have been melted and burned off. It's crazy. I remember having to take pain pills after getting my hair braided like that. Woo. Damn. Take it easy, kid. Above and insert zombies break out of the barricade near the end of Return of the Living Dead. I remember seeing that for the first time and being terrified because the police, at least the police in this movie, right? I know I'm not talking about it in real life and I'm not going to get political here, but the police are supposed to be the saving grace. They're supposed to save us. And here they are at their barricade, and the dead are coming through. The dead are going to break out of the barricade. They are immune to bullets. This is terrifying to me, even now. And here he is, the greatest boogeyman of our time. Yeah, dude. Freddy really does. He looks wicked as hell, man. In this, I'm talking about this photo right here. Look at him. Look at him. I'm so glad that they took a close-up picture of that makeup, you know. So here he is. There he is. There's the man who brought my greatest childhood boogeyman to life, the Tarman. That's Alan Trutman, who's a puppeteer. And I believe this is his first feature film. There's William Munns. So Munns was capable of good stuff because look at the Tarman. That's Munns doing. You know, Munns did not. That's melted vinyl that they used to drape over his body. He just looks like a melted guy. What is the origin of the Tarman? You know, like what is his real story? And when you cover him in KY and he just is all shiny and goopy, he is so disturbing. So I mentioned about writing about his backstory, but I wrote a children's book called Who Ate All My Halloween Candy? And I hope that comes to light someday as well. And one of the monsters in it, because it's about a little, I'm not going to say what it's about, but one of the monsters in it is the boogie. Instead of the boogeyman, it's the boogie man. And he's like a booger man that resembles the tar man, the boogie man or the boogie man, you know, just like your boogers, you know. Get it? Get it? Do you get it yet? Do you understand what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? You make sense? He just looks great, man. And he's kind of got that. He does have like a Crimson Ghost like aspect to him with his smiling face, and it just works, man. It just works. And there he is. That's him being coming to life, being sculpted. That's the face of the man who would become the Tarman, and he's missing a tooth. And in my origin story, I mention how he gets that tooth knocked out. That tooth gets knocked out for a reason, if you can imagine it. And just that's him, man. That's the Tarman right there, and that's him underneath. When they shot this, they did not intend for the glass to break. It was a happy accident, and they were very happy about it. But how cool is that? Look, that's him sleeping, but underneath those sleeping eyes made out of clay, you have these eyeballs. So when he starts melting, look at that. Look at that. They just put him. I mean, more ingenuity. Pre-CGI. What did you do? How did you want to melt a corpse? You just put it under hot heat and do it. Boom. There he is melting down. Melting. And there he is underneath. Surprise. Sequential Tarman photos of wax melting away from the plastic subsculpture of the Tarman. To achieve the desired effect, he is exposed to the atmosphere. The crew aimed heat blowers and glue guns at the Tarman wax prop. Milton the Monster says you could do a whole video on the soundtrack alone. I agree, man. And you want to know something? This book eventually does get to the soundtrack, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it in great depth. So you just wait. Yeah, the soundtrack is great, man. One of the greatest horror punk rock soundtracks ever. Ever. Look at this. Kenny Myers, we had no creative meetings per se. We were in the midst of production and had no time for that. So here's the thing. Kenny Myers comes in and takes over the job from William Munns, who's doing a terrible job with special effects, right? And here's a guy, remember what William Munns says? What does William Munns says back here? Let me find it. Look, here's William Munns saying, one of the factors, and I love the way the book is so unbiased about it. They're not trying to side one way or another. One factor that diminishes the capacity of a person to do their job well is when extra work and unnecessary interruptions are imposed on an artist, especially with a short and intense pre-production schedule. And you get the crap that we saw. And then here is the guy that replaces him. What is his attitude? We had no creative meetings per se. We were in the midst of production and had no time for that. And there's a guy who just knows how to do his job, does it, and doesn't need all the theatrics or whatever it was that made Munns the way that he was. And look at these, and look at the work that turns out. You can't argue with it, man. Instead of those stupid masks, I guess these are the guys who are covered in mud, right? They do have makeup, but man, in my opinion, just so much more effective than wearing a mask. Let's see what it says. There's the stumpy guy who has like one of the most memorable scenes. He's eating real brains, by the way. He's eating actual brains. There he is. That's him. That's the guy. Look at him. He used his disability to give us one of the most memorable sequences of a zombie you can imagine. And to that, I salute him. Let's see what they say here. Makeup designs for Principal Zombies by Kenneth Myers. So we saw the masks before that were never used. Now here's what Kenneth Myers does, right? Kenny just comes in and just does it. William Munn's zombie masks can still be seen in a number of scenes. So that's what it was. So there is extra footage featuring those masks, and those masks were disposed of, and Kenny's footage was replaced. And Kenny's footage is far superior. Above an insert. Oh, so the actor's name is Jerome Daniels. Tucks in a meal of fresh human calf brains. So they were calf brains. So there's Jerome Daniels, who's dancing right here, eating some calf brains. I salute you, Jerome Daniels. Yeah, I suppose those are both like natural reactions to seeing this very graphic thing. You're scared and you're also laughing because of the way the movements and I think humor, our ability to scream and our ability to laugh are connected to the same, primordial ooze or medulla oblongatas or whatever, your hypothalamuses is that this gentleman is currently munching on or whatever. Below, Hollywood Boulevard dancer Jerome Daniels playing the legless corpse eating calf brains reportedly turned him green. So there he goes. He was a legless dancer who was recruited, and he used to work on Hollywood Boulevard. We salute you, Jerome Daniels, for your awesome, awesome contribution to horror cinema. You rule. And there's Clue getting attacked. I'm not going to show the buttocks. And look how yellow he is, man. That yellow job is so perfect. They didn't have to put any prosthetics on him. He's just a fresh cadaver who is that yucky, nauseating medical yellow, that antiseptic yellow. It's just so effective. Graham came to my makeup room in the stage, and I already knew it was over, so I simply asked him how I could assist him as a friend to make a smooth transition. Ooh. Graham came to my makeup room in the stage, and I already knew it was over, so I simply asked him how I could. Well, that's nice that William Munns had that sort of grace to exit smoothly. He didn't make a big deal out of it. The yellow cadaver, which was played by Terrence M. Houlihan, attacks Bert. In the original script, he was to bite Bert. I did not realize that. As seen in the legendary work print edition of the film, which surfaced in the early 90s. So I did not realize that he actually takes a bite, probably because the quality is so terrible in the work print. He actually bites Clue, which is another thing. A bite is supposed to turn you. And in this case, nobody ever gets turned from a bite. They get turned from a bite in Return of the Living Dead 3, which is a whole different bag, but Trash comes back because she was soaked in the acid rain. That's why she came back. She didn't come back because they were eating her brains, And I'm not going to show below the neck here because she is topless, but there is Clue, there's Trash. That's what Trash looks like when she's all zombified, and there's James. James and Clue with Leanna in the makeup room. Gulager wished to keep a copy of this photo as a souvenir. However, he never received one, and it was thought lost until now. So great. It's a great photo, especially when you look below the neck. It all works. It all comes together. It all works very well. Here's Don Koffa. We had a great art director. I brought in my own things. I had a photo of Ava Braun, who was Hitler's wife, who he married right before he killed himself, in the background. I also had a poster of Goebbels, looking over Hitler's shoulder. I brought a personality to the role. Nothing more. I mean, all that and more should be said about Don Koffa. And here's a photo of him. Look, here is Ernie and Tina await their fate in the attic. It was Koffa's idea to shoot Randolph in the head, just as John Carpenter had done in the film. Just as John Carradine had done in the film Stagecoach. Right. He got this idea from Stagecoach, where the wagons are surrounded by Indians, Native Americans, who are encroaching on them, and John Carradine pulls a pistol to spare the damsel, the fate at the hands of the Native Americans. And it was Don Koffa's idea to do the same with protecting. Essentially, Ernie becomes a protector of Tina, and how conflicting that Ernie should be. He's a Nazi in hiding, but he's also the hero of the story. It really sort of, as a Jew, it's conflicting for me because I love the character of Ernie so much. I hate to say this, but is it possible that a Jew could have a Nazi that he admires if it's a fictional Nazi who, I don't know. How does that work? I don't know. Moving on. Moving on. Um, so here we are. Oh, don't want to see that. So there we are. Getting ready to eat, getting ready for a meal, supper time. Here, Trash and the bum with the shopping cart get some direction from Dan. William Stout is often mistakenly thought to be a bum. However, he did play the wine at the beginning of the film. Right. We've talked about that. And there she is in pouncing position. You really don't get to see her full. And for whatever reason, her jaw just like extends like crazy. I'll cover up and you can see there she is. That's what she looked like. So she was wearing pants, even though she's naked, dead and naked in the film. She died in her birthday suit. She died in her birthday suit. So, and here, oh my God, I think we can conclude. We're going to conclude. We're going to wind this down because we want to just do a little bit each day until we get through the whole book. The money on the film was not in salaries. I had a fair salary because I had just come off a couple of big hit movies. Clue must have had a good salary too, but the kids worked for minimum. So the money was not great, but they still he enjoyed doing the movie, man. Just totally spat on my book. Gross. And that's him getting ready to meet his maker as he says, forgive me, which, it's funny that the guy who wrote the blog about the book, the novelization, talks about how John Russo inserted his Irish Catholic faith into a lot of the characters. But I think it was on brand because here is Frank committing a mortal sin because he's already dead. He's getting down on his knees and he's saying, forgive me. He could be praying to his wife, but he could also be praying to God. And he puts his ring on the switch as it's just such a brilliant scene. They say that when you're doing low budget filmmaking, there's a golden triangle of low budget filmmaking. It's good, fast, and cheap. You can never have something, you can only have two out of the three. You can never get all three. So you can have something that is going to be good and fast, but it's not going to be cheap. You can have something that's fast and cheap, but it's not going to be good. Do you get what I'm saying? But there are some times, and it happened quite a few times in the case of Return of the Living Dead, where you get something that is good, fast, and cheap. And one case is the reanimating of the butterflies, which they just took a little fan. They cut out, those butterflies were made out of cutouts of paper, and they just took a little fan right outside of the camera and they blew it on the butterflies and it made them flutter right in the foreground of the scene when they're dealing with the yellow cadaver. And here, where they came up with such a ginormous ending for Frank's arc that was just thought just like that. They already had the stuff all set up. All they had to do was just cinch it, and they turned what would have been just another one of them to die by the big bomb at the end, and made it even more tragic somehow. And there he is. What is this picture from? Insert: James Karen was the one responsible for Frank's eventual fate, which would be considerably different to the one featured in O'Bannon's original script. Left makeup design by Kenny Myers. So that's Kenny, huh? That's Kenny right there. And I don't know what the shot is from, though. Interesting. Very interesting. There's our dude there. And he looks so harmless in the movie. He is terrifying. But right here is this. He just looks like he's just chilling. He's just hanging out. Dan actually had us go out on a date before filming. Remember I mentioned that between him and Beverly? Tom doesn't remember going out. That's Beverly saying that. And there he is in his makeup, man. I'm just so glad they took these photos. I could have a whole movie about Freddy just like this if he had survived. Frank's demise was sad, but nice to see that he didn't want to hurt anyone in the group. That's an interesting point, Rue. Perhaps that is the takeaway, is that he wanted, I don't know. I would say that he wanted to be in control of his own fate. He didn't want, he was reluctant. He didn't want to hurt anybody, but he also wanted to be he wanted to be in control of something uncontrollable that has happened to him. So he didn't want this to happen to him. It was outside of his control, and he's taking that control back by ending it himself. It's a good observation, though, Rue. And there he is, man. And there's even though it was James Cameron's idea to do this, he still has Dan O'Bannon showing him how to do it. Because Dan just has to show everybody how to do everything. But at the same time, he is the director and everybody has their role on set. And, Dan O'Bannon's the type of guy who, whatever you want to say about Dan O'Bannon, it was his idea to do the other thing. And he heard James Cameron's idea and was like, that's a great idea. That's the way we should end your character. And he listened to him, so it's just like, Dan O'Bannon was kind of a genius, man. He was a genius in that he was not only was he creative and a good writer, but that he also was able to incorporate and collaborate with his actors when it made sense. They also had a good relationship. James Cameron had a good relationship with Dan O'Bannon, which perhaps allowed Dan O'Bannon to listen to him. Had Beverly come to Dan with a suggestion, do you think that Dan would have allowed Beverly to have a similar suggestion? I don't know. By the way, Don is talking about over here. Hold on, let me find this thing of Don. Don was talking about how he got to bring his own props and personality. I can't find it, but whatever. I can just talk about it. One of the things that he brought, and they talk about it later, he brought in to add to his Nazi character a set of pulled teeth, which is what happened to the Jews. The Jews who had, here it is, in the attic, there is a jar. I've never seen it. To this day, I've never found it. I've always looked for it. There's supposedly a jar of teeth with gold fillings, which is what the Nazis would pull teeth from Jews after they were gassed. All the gold was removed from the Jews. All the jewelry was melted down. It was turned into Nazi regalia and whatever, Nazi gold. All this stuff came from the Jews. Some of it came from the Jews, and including the fillings in the teeth of dead Jews, gold and silver. And supposedly there's a jar full of teeth in that attic. But don't want to see that. So, and then I've never seen that. I don't know where this shot is from. This is taken from something. This must be from an outtake from the death scene for Frank. I don't know. It does not say. It just says this was the direction of the suicide scene. I wonder if that they just put that there to go along with stuff. So here, what's this? Dan O'Bannon trying to persuade the street performer Jerome Daniels to eat real calf brains. He's like, it would just really add so much to the film if you would do it. Please, will you do that? Man, I don't know. You really, his look on his face, you really want me to eat calf brains? Yes, please, 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 just do it. Just do it. You're going to add so much production value. I'm going to pay you a little extra money. I believe he was paid a little extra money. I'm going to pay you a little extra money. I just want you to eat some calf brains. Man, I don't know if I could do that. That sounds really disgusting. I'm very squeamish. My palate is not of the variety where I would want to eat something like that. I'll tell you what, how about if you eat some brains first and then I'll eat some brains? Look, I'm the director. I'm behind camera. I don't have to eat those brains, but I would really, really appreciate it if you did. Man, I don't know. I'll think about it. Here's Trash taking her clothes off. Trash is taking her clothes off again. Boy, she looks good there. What a good-looking actress, woman, whatever you want to call. She's very pretty in this photo. Yeah, Rue, I can't. Hold on. Oh, don't want to see her. Vegetarian, right? In reference to Drew. Hey, man, I'm a vegetarian. I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to eat that. But there she is. She gets into. She does the dance. In darkness, you will find me. I dance among the dead. You think this is an effing costume? They sure didn't act that way. Bert explains to Scuzz, Brian Peck, and Spider just how to deal with the dead returning to life. Above the insert, Trash prepares to attack the tax squad commander, who who is played by Bob Libden. So people confuse this guy. People think, I was talking about this yesterday, people think that this is Dan O'Bannon in his cameo, and he looks a lot like Dan O'Bannon. He does look like Dan O'Bannon. Let's see if we can find a photo. So that's him, and that's Dan. They look very, very similar, right? They look similar, but it's not him. There, she's going for the bite. He's like, "What's going on?" Has no idea he's about to get chomped down. And now look, now there's Dan. Dan and this guy look very similar. Look at that. That's him. And there's Dan. Dan's social graces could sometimes leave a lot to be desired. That didn't bother me so much, as I had known Dan for a little while before working with him. That's William Stout. They had done some pretty macabre stuff in a few mortuaries when they were studying real life situations with dead people for this movie. I'll leave it at that. Read the book if you want to know more. Pretty grisly, grim sort of stuff. And here is Brian Peck getting rigged up. They spilled a lot of blood. A lot of blood got spilled with this guy right here. Look at that. Yeah, he really he's wearing a dog tag. Look at that. What's his shirt say? His shirt's just like random squigglies. Cherry Davis says, sorry to say I didn't meet any of the other cast members. When you do a voiceover, you're pretty much a loner, alas. And there he is. There she is. That was Cherry Davis. She was the half corpse talking, revealing exposition that we would need to learn why the dead eat what they eat. Don says, it's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. And the treat was just seeing the movie and saying, wow, this is a gem. Yeah, man. Opposite, why do you eat people? Ernie questions the half corpse and above. Ernie takes a hearty swig out of his hip flask. The deleted scene features in the work print. So I got to watch the work print again because I don't remember a lot of these deleted scenes. So this is from the deleted scene. This is a still, and you can actually see that. So that's after Spider. So Spider and Bert have already left. Ernie's got a broken foot. His foot's broke, as he says. And there's Tina, who's bummed out that they left us. They left us. They had to. And he's numbing the pain as Freddy is trying to, Tina, I want to eat your brains. Look at this. All right, we're gonna. So this is interesting. This is special effects. These are special makeup effects by artist Greg Nicotero. There's a young Greg Nicotero. That's his first screen credit. He played a soldier and he did special effects assisting Tom Savini. And pretty soon he would go on to start K&B Effects. And now he is the powerhouse of these days, overseeing Creepshow on Shudder. He's synonymous with The Walking Dead. It was good to get one of the Romero people, someone from Romero's camp involved. He was also involved with Creepshow. There's Spider with Tarman's eyes. Those are Tarman's eyes at the desk of assistant to producers Victoria Slaymaker. Hello. He's had way too much coffee today. And then on the flip side, this is Robert Craighead as cop number 1 with a couple of zombie extras. So as you can see, these zombie extras are dirty, but they do not. She's like, I can't wait to eat your brains. Peter also does not remember the work print either, just alternate cuts. Yeah, man, I got to rewatch it. It's on the Scream Factory edition. I'm going to check it out. But notice, as I was saying earlier, how this is what I'm talking about. Some of the corpse just do not have any. They didn't have any prosthetics or anything, and it works. Just cover them in mud and rain, and it's wet and it's dark. It's night outside, and there's bright lights. It just works, man. It works. They looked so macabre, and they move fast, and it was just incredibly, incredibly scary. So yeah, that's it. That's where we're gonna leave off today. I hope you enjoyed this. So like I said, so tonight I get the instructions for the 72-hour film challenge that I'm supposed to be doing, right? Oh no. What's going on? Oh, we froze. Re-entering the broadcast studio. There I am. Enter the broadcast studio. Come on. I'm backstage. Uh-oh. That's annoying. Add to the stream. You can't see. Hello. Hello. It doesn't matter. We don't need that anymore. So we're getting our instructions for the 72-hour film challenge that we're doing for the Sick and Wrong Film Festival. Our team is known as the Herbert Westchesters because we're in Westchester, New York. So I was like, the Herbert Westchesters, of course, that makes sense. I may or may not, we're not shooting until tomorrow night, so I may or may not do part 3 of this ongoing deep dive into the complete history of Return of the Living Dead. But you better believe we are going to get all the way through. Pete, oh, you know what? You're right. Thanks for reminding me. Pete, the Damien interview comes tomorrow. So you know what? There will be no, you know what? No, I'm not doing, this is the last live video for the week. Tomorrow is the Damien interview on Pizza Punk. So if you're into Sam Hain, check that out. That's coming tomorrow. And Sunday we have our second part of Jerry's Kids for Facebook Evil Live, the YouTube streaming Evil Live show. Really need a better title for that. Thank you for joining me again. I love doing this stuff. I really do. I wish I was getting paid full time to do it. That's why I'm doing a video every day. I'm trying to increase the amount of AdSense revenue that I get from doing these videos with the ads. So let me tell you something. If you're just working in the background and you're just and an ad comes and you want to support me without spending any money, just let the ad play out. When you let the ad play out, you are helping me so much. I can't even tell you. Just let your ad play out. Let it play all the way through before skipping. Like I said, if you're not strapped for time, skip those ads. But when you watch those ads, you're helping to keep the lights on in this operation that is Frummus, the Frummus brand of YouTube entertainment that I like to provide. So, all right, that's enough. Rue, you the man. My little man now wants to watch the movie again. That's nice. Yeah, go sit down and watch it. You can watch it endlessly. And thank you for the good luck. Yes, Damien's coming tomorrow. It's either 12 or 1. One of those two. It'll be here. You'll be able to see it. I believe it's at noon. So watch it live here at noon, even though it was pre-taped. Lots of revelations about Iggy and lots of revelations about Glenn Danzig.